Just another day, looking for the perfect shade to complete my next graffiti masterpiece. I was about to grab a can of midnight blue when I spotted them. Two sketchy dudes, pocketing cans of paint like it was casual Friday at the shoplifting Olympics. Their friend, though, a posh-looking guy, completely clueless. He was standing there like he had no idea his so-called buddies were treating the store like an all-you-can-steal buffet. Not my problem, but... The sketchy duo strolled to the register, acting like they were just innocent customers. The second they stepped through the security scanner, beep, beep, beep.
What? What's happening? I didn't take anything.
His friends, gone, vanished into thin air.
You! Empty your pockets!
Poor dude looked like he was about to pass out. I could practically see the, am I about to be arrested? Thoughts racing through his fancy little head. Again, not my problem. Except, I let out an overly dramatic sigh, turned on my heel, and skated out of the store. I found them in the alleyway, laughing their asses off with their bag full of stolen paints. Time for some justice. Finn style. Hey, dumbasses.
Huh?
Before they could react, I swung my skateboard. Whack! One went down instantly. The other tried to run, but I grabbed his hoodie and yanked him back like he was a badly behaved golden retriever. Not so funny now, huh? They stared at me, terrified, dazed, and, honestly, pathetic. Pick up the bag. We're going back. I dragged them, literally dragged them, back to the store. I chucked the stolen bag of paint onto the counter. Those two tricked you both. Here, the store owner glared at the actual culprits.
We're sorry. We won't do it again.
I turned around, headphones back on, and walked out. Unfortunately, the nerd wasn't done with me yet.
Wait!
What now?
I just wanted to say thank you. What's your name?
No need.
But
can't you hear? I already said no need. If you had been able to protect yourself in the first place, you wouldn't have to think others like this.
Huh?
I skated away. Hi, I'm Finn. Technically, it's Fiona, but Fiona is way too girly for me. I've lived at St. Mary's Orphanage my whole life. I was dumped here as a baby with nothing but a note. Dear Orphanage, this is Fiona. I can't afford to raise her, so I hope the orphanage will take care of her for me. Best regards, and never meet again. Yep, no parents. Never had him, never needed him. I was adopted multiple times by the Harringtons, the Millers, the Hopes, blah, blah, blah. But every single family sent me back. Apparently, I was too out of control. Honestly, their loss. Now I get to do whatever I want. Sneak onto rooftops, spray paint the city, skate at midnight, and eat junk food for dinner. Oh, and skipping school. Like right now. Except...
Finn!
I was startled and almost fell off my chair as Sister Wendy stormed into the room. What now?
Did you skip school to paint graffiti again?
Graffiti is an artistic expression of...
Your teacher called. This is the 5th time this month.
Sister, I can't stand school. They always make me study useless subjects, like math.
Math is not useless.
Oh yeah? What am I gonna do if a burglar breaks into my house at 3 a.m.? Blow his mind with logarithms? Ooh, oh no, a criminal!
Behold, the power of algebra! Oh, you're impossible. Listen, Finn, you're going to be out of here soon. You need to learn how to be on your own.
And school helps with that?
Yes, you can do a lot with a degree. Now get going.
Ugh, but I knew better than to argue with Sister Wendy. She was the only one who actually cared. After school, I stopped by my favorite graffiti wall to finish my latest masterpiece, snapped a pic for my Instagram, and then Sister Wendy called. What now? I skated back to the orphanage, dreading whatever lecture awaited me. Except she wasn't mad. Instead, she just looked at me, weirdly.
There's a couple inside. They want to adopt you.
Again?
Finn, listen to me. They're different. They're good people. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance.
Sure it is.
Then do it for me. I need to see you taken care of.
Fine. Let's just get this over with. I stomped into the meeting room, ready to scare off my latest victims, only to freeze in my tracks. Wait, I knew these people. They were the Laurens, a famous artist couple. So, let me get this straight. These people, the Laurens, aka world-renowned artists, aka ridiculously rich, aka very much out of place in this musty orphanage, wanted to adopt me? Yeah, suspicious. All right, what's the scam? Scam? Nobody just wants to adopt a teenager, especially a troublemaker like me. So, what is it? Tax benefits? Free housemaid? Publicity stunt?
Finn, we...
Just saying! Rich people don't do things for free.
We're not here for anything but you, Finn. We've been following your work for a long time.
My work?
Your graffiti.
Excuse me?
We love it. We actually follow your Instagram.
Which one?
At Urban Rebel Finn.
Nope. Nope. My underground graffiti page? The one where I post all my murals? The one where I may or may not have publicly insulted several politicians, school authorities, and the entire New York City sanitation department? So you, what, saw my work and thought, wow, we should adopt that criminal?
Not exactly. We appreciate what you do. Your art, your messages, they're raw and fearless. We admire that.
Uh-huh. And instead of, I don't know, hiring me, you want to adopt me?
We want you to have a home. You've been through a lot, haven't you? I felt my stomach drop. For a split second, it was like they could see right through me. All the times I'd been sent back, all the people who had used me, all the times I had tried to believe someone would actually keep me, only to be let down again. I hated it. Forget it. I'm not getting adopted. Not again. Then I stormed off, leaving them calling after me. I needed to clear my head. They don't get it. Nobody does. A famous artist couple following my work for a year? That was weird. Wait, it's them. What are they doing here?
Are you stalking me now?
Oh, Finn! Fancy seeing you here.
This is my spot.
We brought you something.
If it's a please love us gift, I don't want it.
Just take a look.
For a second, I consider telling them to shove off. But curiosity wins. I snatch the bag and rip it open. Inside is a full set of high-end graffiti supplies. Spray paints, markers, stencils. The expensive kind. The kind I've been eyeing for months, but could never afford. Where did you get these?
We own an art studio. Figured you'd like it.
You think this will make me accept you?
No, we just thought you'd like it.
The way he says it, so casual, so certain, like it's not some grand gesture or a bribe, unsettles me. No strings attached, no expectations, just giving me something because they wanted to. And I hate how warm that makes me feel. Ugh, you people are annoying. I kick off on my board and skate away before they can say anything else, but I keep the bag. I've always liked the rooftop. It's quiet, high above the world, with just the hum of the city in the distance. Up here, nothing feels as heavy. The Laurens are still waiting. They're wasting their time.
They're different, Finn. I know you're scared.
I'm not scared.
I know you've been hurt before, and I know you don't trust easily. But the Laurens, they're kind people.
They could just be faking it, like the others.
I've done background research. They don't have any hidden agenda.
So?
So maybe give them a chance. Not just for them, for you. And if they ever let you down, you always have a home here.
I don't say anything, but for the first time, I think about it. Well, here we go. Fine. I'll let you adopt me.
Really?
But 2 conditions.
Name them.
1, I can return to the orphanage whenever I want.
Of course.
2, you'll provide as much art stuff as I want.
Done.
You agreed too fast. Suspicious.
We were already planning to send you to art school.
Art school?
You'll go with our daughter, Eve.
Who is Eve?
Your new sister.
Yeah, this just got weirder. Car rolls to a stop, and I step out, skateboard in hand, staring up at what is definitely not a house. It's a museum with bedrooms. The driveway is cluttered with weird metal sculptures, like someone let a bunch of robots die here for the sake of art. I knew rich people live differently, but this was excessive.
Welcome to your new home.
More like a museum I'm not allowed to touch.
You can touch everything, dear.
Even that weird statue that looks like a melted giraffe?
That's actually an original piece from...
Yeah, I don't care.
Let's get you inside. There's someone we want you to meet.
Oh, great. More surprises?
Love that for me.
I follow them inside, stepping into what looks like an art studio the size of my entire orphanage. And sitting right in the middle of it is a girl who looks like she walked straight out of an elite boarding school brochure. Her outfit? Perfect. Her hair? Neatly tucked, like it stays that way on its own. She's working on some delicate, detailed garden scene.
Finn, this is Eve, your new sister.
Excuse me?
Hi, Finn. It's so nice to finally meet you.
Is it?
I've been really excited. I've always wanted a sibling.
Mm-hmm.
Is something wrong?
You don't look threatened.
Why would I be?
Because either A, they're replacing you with me, or B, you're being forced to be nice to me.
What? No.
Finn, dear, we're not replacing anyone.
Then explain why a perfect rich family would go out of their way to adopt a problem child like me.
Because we love your art, Finn.
And because we wanted the house to feel fuller.
That's not reassuring.
Why don't you show Finn to her room?
Of course. Come on, Finn.
Suspicious. Eve swings the door open, and I step into what is definitely not a normal bedroom. The walls are covered in bold, chaotic splashes of color, like someone let loose with a spray can and no self-control. Shelves packed with top-tier graffiti supplies line the room, the kind I've only ever dreamed of having.
I helped design it. I hope you like it.
This is too nice.
What?
This is a trap. This is a make her feel comfortable, then spring some insane rich people rules on her situation.
No! You can do whatever you want here.
Even paint on the walls?
Especially on the walls.
Okay, slightly less suspicious.
Good. Tomorrow's your first day at school. I'll help you settle in.
School? Again?
You can't just skate around Brooklyn forever.
Watch me. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad, but I'm still watching them. They might be nice now, but nobody stays nice forever. I've been to a lot of schools. Some boring, some strict, some that probably should have been condemned by the city. But this was the next level.
Welcome to Rosewood Academy.
Thanks. I hate it.
You'll be fine.
Let's find your homeroom. I follow Eve inside, but the second I step through the doors, something feels off. Why does this feel like the opening scene of a horror movie? That's her.
The delinquent the Lawrence adopted.
Oh, they're afraid of me.
Nice. Finn, please don't encourage this.
No promises. I was just getting used to my new villain arc when...
Wait, you?
Oh no. Standing right in front of me is the same posh nerd I saved at the paint store. Why are you here?
I go to this school. Why are you here?
Plot twist. I got adopted.
By the Lawrence?
Unfortunately.
Oh! You two know each other?
Unfortunately.
Wow! Small world!
Whatever. Just stay out of my way, posh boy.
It's Dylan.
Yeah, Finn, Dylan's great. He's super smart. Right, Dylan?
Sure. Dylan suddenly looks like he just remembered a massive, overdue assignment, and Eve is inspecting her nails like they're the most fascinating thing she's ever seen. I needed air. Everything here is too perfect. The house, the people, the whole, we're a loving, normal family act. The new school is weird. The new family is weird. And now, there's Dylan, the human embodiment of rich kid anxiety. What on earth did I get myself into? Just as I'm lost in thought, a sharp voice cuts through the silence.
You're Finn, right? What an impolite child. Don't you know how to greet someone?
A tall, lean woman stands by the garden entrance, staring at me with icy disapproval. I tilt my head, intrigued. So, there is chaos in paradise. Good. I was starting to worry this place was too polished for its own good. I don't know who you are. What gifts? Just then, the Lawrence burst into the garden, looking genuinely panicked.
Finn, don't mess with her.
She is...
Huh? I'm Finn. Last time you saw me in part 1, I was getting dragged into a too-perfect mansion, meeting my too-perfect new family, and realizing I might actually have to attend real school again. Now, I'm standing in a very expensive backyard, getting stared down by a woman who looks like she could snap her fingers and have me banished. You're Finn, right? What an impolite child. Don't you know how to greet someone? I don't know who you are. What gives? Before she can respond, the Lawrence burst into the garden, looking genuinely panicked.
Finn, don't mess with her!
Turns out, this is Christine, the housekeeper/overlord of the Laurent estate. She's been here forever, practically raised Eve, and definitely thinks she runs this place. She eyes me like I'm a stain on her pristine world. This child needs discipline. Please do not fight Christine. I like you alive. Fine. So, who actually owns this place then? After surviving the housekeeper from hell, I figured school couldn't be worse. Turns out, I was wrong. A group of girls, covered in fancy brands and way too much perfume, stood in a circle, whispering just loud enough for me to hear. She looks so ugly and dirty, but she was adopted by the Laurent family. I don't get it. I immediately nodded, completely unfazed. Exactly! You guys should be avoiding me like the plague, not crowding around me like this. The group exchanged confused glances. That was not the reaction they were expecting. Your brain is broken or something? You're being called ugly and dirty, and you agree with it? My expression darkened. Killer mode activated. I stepped closer, grabbing her collar, voice dropping into something dangerously calm. Hey, ugly and dirty is my style, but my brain, crystal clear. You want to know what broken really looks like? I raised my hand, about to slap some sense into her. Before I could make contact, a hand caught my wrist. Finn, stop! I turned, annoyed, but Eve wasn't looking at me. She was glaring at the girls. Everyone has their own style. Finn's is bold and creative. You guys just copy each other. The mean girl turned pale. I let go of her collar, grinning. Maybe Eve wasn't so bad after all. So apparently, defending myself at school wasn't as big of a scandal as I thought, because when I got home, everyone acted like normal. No lectures, no disappointed looks, just warmth. And I wasn't used to that. Mr. and Mrs. Laurent treated me like I actually belonged. They were both artists. Mr. Laurent was even a painter, so they got it. My need to create, to express myself. Instead of telling me to stop vandalizing my own bedroom walls, Mr. Laurent actually complimented my work. Nice color balance. Bold choice with the shading. Mrs. Laurent never batted an eye at my ripped hoodies or messy hair. Instead, she helped me pick out clothes that I liked when we went shopping. Wear whatever makes you comfortable, Finn. It was weird. In a good way. Of course, there was one exception. Christine. She made it very clear that she wasn't part of the Welcome Finn committee. Since I was new, she took it upon herself to teach me the household rules. Except teaching meant criticizing everything I did. If it were Eve, she would have done better. Every single day. Did it annoy me? Absolutely. But I didn't let it get to me, mostly because of Eve. Eve always had my back. Eve always spoke well of Christine, saying how thoughtful, caring, and attentive she was. All that sentimental stuff I didn't quite see, but figured Eve believed in. One day, she suggested I try giving Christine a gift. Said she might actually soften up. She might be touched, Finn. It's worth a shot. I wasn't convinced, but whatever. I grabbed a box of red strawberry macarons and handed them to Christine. She frowned. I don't like mint-flavored ones. I blinked. Mint? I stared at her, confused. Strawberry macarons weren't mint, but I shrugged it off. Not worth the headache. Turns out, being adopted by world-famous artists doesn't get you into the advanced art class. Nope. I was stuck in basic art, drowning in lectures about art history. Why did I have to memorize every single art movement when I just wanted to paint? By break, I had given up. I sat at my desk, scrolling through graffiti videos on my phone, watching artists transform gray walls into masterpieces. That's real art. No boring textbooks, no rules, just raw expressions. That's when I heard them again. Ugh, graffiti? That's not art. It's just vandalism. It's trashy. Just like like you. You'll never be a real artist. I saw red. Oh yeah? Well, let me show you some trashy art. I dipped the brush into bright blue paint and splattered it all over them. And just like that, chaos. A full-blown fight breaks out. Brushes fly, paint spills, desks knock over. Then...
Enough!
Soon enough, my parents were called. But instead of scolding me, Mr. and Mrs. Laurent just listened. Finn, we understand. But next time, maybe aim for a canvas instead of people. Mr. Michael, surprisingly, had my back too. Finn, your passion is undeniable. But art should be your voice, not your weapon. Next time, come to me first. It wasn't a total loss, but I wasn't in the mood for class anymore. So, time to find the rooftop. I wasn't expecting company, but there he was, Dylan. Well. Posh boy skipping class. It's called strategic avoidance. We talked. Turns out he wasn't as annoying as I thought. Before I knew it, Dylan and I clicked like we'd been best friends in another life. It was too easy. The constant banter, the dramatic eye rolls, the inside jokes about our ridiculously fancy school. I wasn't used to getting along with someone this fast. Then, in the middle of our usual nonsense, Dylan playfully nudged my shoulder. Oh, so that's how we're playing now? I half raised my hand, ready to shove him back, when I caught something out of the corner of my eye. Eve. She had been walking just a step behind us, but her usual smile was gone. Her fingers twisted the strap of her bag, her eyes flickering toward Dylan, then away, like she was trying not to look. You okay, Eve?
What? Oh, yeah, totally.
She's probably wondering how she got stuck with the school's two biggest headaches. I laughed. Eve did too, but hers was off. I didn't have time to think much about Eve acting weird, because the school just announced an art competition. At first, I didn't care. Competitions weren't my thing. But then, they started talking. Can you imagine Finn entering? She wouldn't even make it past the first round. She probably won't even try. Not when she has to compete against real artists. Okay, that was it. I pushed off my locker and walked straight up to them. You think I wouldn't?
Well, graffiti isn't real art, you know? You'd be wasting your time.
I almost laughed. So, art only mattered if it was made in a fancy studio with a tiny brush? Please! These girls acted like they got to decide what counted as a real art and what didn't. Too bad for them. I wasn't the type to back down. Fine, I'll enter, and I'll use graffiti in the competition. They laughed. And when you lose, maybe you'll finally admit graffiti isn't real art. I stepped even closer. No, because I'm going to win. And when I do, you'll have to admit graffiti is art. The hallway went quiet, and their smirks disappeared. Guess they didn't expect me to push back. I left school feeling invincible, ready to prove my point. This is gonna be easy. Graffiti is art. I'll show them. At least, that's what I thought. But as I started sketching, something felt off. The lines felt stiff, like I was forcing something that should flow naturally. My usual creativity was just gone. I kept trying, sketching, erasing, starting over, but nothing looked right. What is this? This isn't me. I ripped the page out and tossed it aside, doubt creeping in. For the first time, I wasn't sure I could pull this off. Doubt still clung to me as I headed to my usual spot, the graffiti wall, hoping fresh air would clear my head. Okay, why do you look like a sad rich boy in a soap opera? Dylan let out a long sigh, running a hand through his hair. I think Eve likes me. I froze mid-step. Huh? I don't know what to do. I don't feel that way about her, but she's my friend, and I don't want to hurt her. I didn't answer right away. Suddenly, all those weird moments with Eve made sense. The way she tensed up, the way she forced those awkward smiles, the way her eyes always flickered toward him when she thought no one was looking. And now I had no idea what to say. If I were in her shoes, wouldn't I be pissed? Wouldn't it suck to like someone who didn't feel the same way? But being me, I just shrugged. Maybe tell her before she explodes? Dylan let out a dry laugh, but there was something heavy behind it. Dylan's words still lingered in my head as I got home, but I barely had time to process them before I found out something new. Eve had also entered the competition. Guess we're rivals now. Let's keep it fair and square. I expected her to laugh, but instead, she nodded, completely serious.
Agreed. We'll compete fairly, not just in this competition.
Wait, not just in this competition? Was she talking about Dylan? I hadn't thought about it before, but the way she said it, so seriously, made it feel like she wasn't just talking about art anymore. A week went by, and all around me, other students were busy working on their competition pieces. Meanwhile, my canvas, still blank. For the first time, graffiti didn't feel like enough, and I hated that feeling. Then, one evening, Eve glanced at me over dinner.
How's your piece coming along?
I shrugged, forcing a smirk.
Nothing yet.
I work better last minute. Total lie. I was completely stuck. Lying about my progress didn't make my art block disappear. So, one night, I snuck into the Lawrence private art studio, hoping inspiration would finally hit me. Yeah, it didn't. Nothing came. No ideas, no spark, just emptiness. Before I could fully sink into frustration, a sharp voice cut through the silence.
What are you doing in here? Who let you in? What if you ruined the expensive supplies?
I rolled my eyes. Perfect. Just my luck. But before I could argue, Mr. Laurent walked in.
Christine, go get some rest. I'll handle this.
I waited for him to scold me, but instead, he set up his own easel and started painting. What? Rich people painting ritual at midnight?
It's about waiting until the art feels right.
What if I can't make something that proves graffiti is art?
Then stop trying to prove something. Paint something that screams you.
Something clicked. I grabbed a spray can, and for the first time in weeks, I finally painted. For the next few days, I put everything into my piece. Spray paint everywhere, bold colors mixing and clashing, with hidden words scattered in the background. This is art. Rules are stupid. Freedom. It wasn't perfect, but for the first time, it felt right. Meanwhile, Eve spent more and more time alone. She redid her piece over and over, staying up late, erasing, starting fresh. Some nights, I'd catch her in her room, exhausted, staring at a blank page. Christine always brought her late-night snacks, making sure she had the energy to keep going. She wanted this badly. I just didn't know how badly until everything fell apart. The whole school was buzzing. Eve's competition entry had vanished. She stood frozen in front of her open locker, eyes wide with shock.
It was right here. I don't understand.
She ran her hands over the inside of the locker, as if the missing artwork would magically reappear, but it didn't. Who would even steal it? This wasn't some dumb prank. This was weeks of work, gone. Then came the whispers.
Finn was at school late last night.
Maybe she took it.
Maybe she was scared she'd lose.
I turned sharply.
Are you kidding me?
I could handle insults. I could handle people calling me reckless, wild, a troublemaker, but a thief? That was a different story. Ready to fire back. Then I noticed something. Eve. She wasn't saying anything. She wasn't jumping in to shut them down, to say they were wrong. She just hesitated. And that silence, that pissed me off more than their stupid rumors ever could.
Hey, Finn again. Last time you saw me, I was standing in the middle of a hallway, getting accused of stealing Eve's art. And the worst part? She didn't say a word to defend me. So, yeah, I wasn't exactly in a good mood. I stormed home, fully expecting Mr. and Mrs. Lauren to doubt me too. But instead,
we believe in you, Finn.
Without a doubt, I froze. For the first time, I realized they trusted me completely. But across the room, Eve stood silent for a moment before quietly saying,
"That's easy for you to say. I stayed up so many nights working on that piece."
She turned and left the room, crying. Christine hurried after her. I just stood there, not knowing what to say. But later that night, I finally decided to try. I hesitated for a second, then knocked on Eve's door, trying not to make things worse. "Hey, I'll help you redo your piece." Eve didn't even look up.
"I don't need your help. You take everything."
She looked at me, her eyes glassy, like she was holding back tears.
"My parents, my place in this house, and now Dylan, too?"
I froze. Wait, this is about Dylan?
Of course you wouldn't get it.
I never wanted Dylan like that. But then, a weird pang hit my chest. Why did I suddenly feel guilty? Eve's words from last night still haunted me, but I didn't have time to think about it anymore, because the next morning, the whole school was talking about me.
Finn sabotaged Eve's painting.
She was scared she'd lose.
They suspended her from the competition. I stopped in my tracks. Suspended? Are you kidding me? Fury burned through me as I stormed toward the principal's office, ready to demand an explanation. But just as I reached the door, I heard a familiar voice inside. Dylan? What is he doing in here? Through the small window, I saw him standing in front of the principal's desk, arms crossed, voice firm.
"She didn't do it. You're making a mistake. The committee will investigate. If you have solid evidence, present it. Otherwise, step aside and let me do my job.
So that's it? You're just going to let them blame her without proof?
Enough, son. This is out of your hands.
Son? The principal's tired expression, Dylan's defiance? It all made sense now. Dylan was the principal's son. A second later, Dylan walked out, frustration all over his face. I hurried after him. Hey, thanks for standing up for me. You put too much into this to just let them take it away. Then his eyes lit up. What if you submit your piece under my name? I stopped. My frustration flipped into pure excitement. That is a genius plan! But when the excitement hadn't faded yet, Eve appeared. She stood there, her eyes flicked between us, filled with resentment. Why is everyone going out of their way to help Finn? My painting was stolen and no one cared! Then, without letting either of us say a word, she turned sharply and stormed off. But as she walked away, her foot landed on a paintbrush covered in red paint. Stupid paintbrush! Ruined my shoes! Ugh, I hate green! Wait, but that paint is red. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Eve's anger, the missing painting, the way everyone turned against me so fast, none of it added up. And with the competition deadline closing in, there was only one way to get answers. I had to find that painting. So, after school, I stayed behind, determined to search every corner of the building. I had just reached Eve's classroom when I spotted someone suspicious. Someone in a hoodie, face hidden, slipped into the classroom like they didn't want to be seen. Who sneaks into a classroom after hours? Peeking through the door, I watched as the person pulled a painting from their bag and carefully placed it on Eve's desk. Then, just as quickly as they had arrived, they slipped away. I should have run in and checked the painting, but something told me to follow them instead. My heart pounded. Who was this? Then, just as I was about to lose them, they turned a corner and led me straight to my own house. I barely had time to process that when someone else approached them. Christine! Is it done? The figure nodded. Christine pulled out a wad of cash and handed it over. Good. Now leave. I stared in shock. Christine was behind this? Before I could react, the masked figure hesitated. I still don't get it. Why go through all this trouble? Because I am Eve's mother. I know what's best for her. My mind went blank. Eve's mother? Suddenly, everything made sense. Christine's favoritism, her constant need to compare me and Eve. Then, more memories clicked. Both Christine and Eve mistook red for green. Could it be genetic? My mind was racing. Christine was Eve's mother. Did Mr. and Mrs. Laurent know about this? I rushed home, barely stopping to catch my breath. Mr. and Mrs. Laurent were sitting in the living room, calm as ever, until they saw my face. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I saw someone sneaking into Eve's classroom. They put her painting back. It was stolen. Christine ordered it. Before I could explain more, Eve appeared at the top of the stairs. Oh, so you returned it because you were afraid of getting caught, huh? And now you're blaming poor Christine? You don't have to believe me, but it's the truth. Christine is the real culprit. Christine? What are you talking about? I took a deep breath. She's your mother. What? Even Mr. and Mrs. Laurent looked completely surprised. Mr. Laurent's face tensed like he was searching for words, while Mrs. Laurent just stared between me and Eve, completely stunned. Then, finally, Mr. Laurent cleared his throat, his voice unusually careful. Eve, you were adopted. You're lying. We took you in when you were a baby, but we never knew Christine was your biological mother. I glanced at Eve, expecting her to react. Anger, denial, something, but her expression only darkened, shoulders tensing under the weight of the truth. We'll look into this, but for now, just act normal and focus on the competition. Act normal? You lied to me! My whole life! Then, without another word, she turned and ran upstairs. The next morning, I woke up to panic. Voices shouting, doors slamming, hurried footsteps. Then, I heard it. Eve was missing. The entire house was in chaos. Mr. and Mrs. Laurent spoke urgently on the phone, while staff rushed around the mansion, checking every corner. Christine was pacing back and forth, mumbling to herself, while I stood in the middle of it all, trying to process what was happening. Where would Eve go? I needed to think. I ignored the frantic energy in the house. I headed to Eve's room, hoping to find some kind of clue. I opened drawers, flipped through notebooks, nothing. But as I reached for another notebook, a sudden voice shattered the silence. What are you doing here? In my daughter's room? Give her back to me! Christine grabbed my arm. She was crying uncontrollably, gripping me like I had personally taken Eve away from her.
It's all my fault. My daughter, where are you? Come back to me.
Christine, let her go.
Blaming Finn won't bring Eve back. She just needs time alone. We've already reported this to the police. Now, we have to wait.
You don't understand. You're not her real parents.
Wait, what did she just say? My patience ran out, and before I knew it, I snapped. They're not her birth parents, but they know her better than you ever did. And you've been living under their roof all these years, lying to their faces, and you don't even feel ashamed? Christine was stunned, but I wasn't done. You say you love Eve, but all you've done is lie to her. That's not love. It's selfish. You don't get to call herself her mother just because you showed up. Christine collapsed onto the floor, and then, through her broken cries, she admitted everything. She had been abandoned by her lover while she was pregnant. Desperate and alone, she left her baby at an orphanage, unable to care for her. Years later, she found out Eve had been adopted by the Lawrence, so she applied as a housekeeper just to stay close to her daughter, to secretly watch over her. But she never had the courage to tell the truth. She was terrified Eve would hate her. She also didn't want to disrupt the good life Eve had with her adoptive parents. And then I came along. Christine had been so afraid that Mr. and Mrs. Laurent would grow attached to me, that I would replace Eve. So she made things hard for me and ruined my reputation, hoping the Laurents would start hating me and send me away. The room fell into heavy silence. Mr. and Mrs. Laurent were speechless. Finally, Mr. Laurent sighed.
We'll deal with this later. Right now, the most important thing is finding Eve.
Christine buried her face in her hands, sobbing. And for once, I didn't have a snarky response, because I actually felt bad for her. I didn't know what else to do, so I ran. There was only one person who could help me figure this out. I reached Dylan's house and banged on his window.
Finn? It's like 6 a.m.
I didn't wait for an invitation. I climbed inside. Get up, posh boy. I need your nerd skills. Eve is missing. Dylan's sleepiness disappeared in an instant. He grabbed his laptop and started typing furiously.
If she didn't tell anyone where she went, maybe she left a clue online.
Eve? Posting, "Hey guys, I'm running away" on social media? Not happening.
Obviously not. But lucky for you, I have access to the school system.
Wait, how?
I'm the principal's son, remember? My dad keeps his login saved on our home laptop. One quick access, and boom, school system unlocked.
Pretty sure that's not legal.
Only if I get caught.
A few seconds later, his smirk faded.
Got something. Eve logged into her school account last night from home, and the last thing she searched was St. Mary's Orphanage.
We both stared at the screen, the search history sitting there like a breadcrumb trail. Of course, she didn't just run away. She went home. I skated as fast as I could, my heart pounding, the streets eerily quiet in the early morning light. And there she was, Eve, sitting on the orphanage steps, arms around her knees, staring into nothing like she'd been there all night. You picked a weird place for a meltdown, princess. I sighed and dropped down beside her, pulling my hoodie tighter around myself. After a long silence, Eve finally spoke. I should have figured it out sooner. Figured out what? That I never really belonged. Christine knew me better than my own parents did. I spent my whole life trying to be their perfect daughter, but in the end, I was just another orphan they picked up. Yeah, that's a crap feeling. What? You think I haven't been there? Feeling like a mistake? Like no matter what you do, someone's gonna send you back? But you know what? That's our decision, not theirs. You can sit here forever feeling sorry for yourself, or you can get up, go back, and make them prove they love you. And if they don't, then you and me, we leave. Find a place where nobody can throw us away. Eve finally looked at me, really looked at me. Then, slowly, she smiled. You're such a pain, Finn. You love me. Maybe. That was enough for me. I pulled out my phone and called Mr. Laurent. A short while later, the Laurents pulled up in a car, rushing out to Eve. Relief was written all over their faces. I stood off to the side, watching. Then, suddenly, Mrs. Laurent grabbed me into the hug, too. What? Oh, okay, this is happening. Christine was nowhere in sight. I glanced at Eve. So, you staying? Yeah. Good, because I wasn't about to let you leave me with Dylan. Eve came home, submitted her entry, and little by little, started acting like herself again. But Christine is different. One morning, she left without a word. No note, no goodbye, just gone. You okay? About what? Christine, it's weird. I thought I'd feel angry, but mostly I just feel relieved. Maybe she needed time to figure things out. If that's what she needs, then she can have it.
I didn't know what to say, so I didn't. We just sat there, watching as the sky deepened from orange to blue. Then, out of nowhere,
You like him, don't you?
I blinked, caught off guard.
Dylan?
I don't know.
You're an idiot.
You too.
I don't think I ever really wanted Dylan. I think I just wanted to feel like I mattered.
A lump formed in my throat. For the first time, Eve felt like family, not competition. She gave me a small smile, and I knew she saw me the same way. After that afternoon, I found myself wandering, my thoughts still tangled, which is how I ended up here, walking through an empty hallway with Dylan. Neither of us said much. The school felt weird when it was this quiet, just the soft buzz of the vending machine and our footsteps filling the empty halls. Then I blurted, "Do you ever think about it?" Dylan shot me a glance. Think about what? If we'd be a thing. Dylan paused mid-step. I just grinned, keeping my tone easy. Not saying I wanted or anything, just wondering. You're impossible, Finn. We kept walking, neither of us saying anything more. But then, just as I thought the conversation was over, you really don't know, huh? I glanced at him, but he was already looking ahead, hands in his pockets, like he hadn't said anything. You're impossible, Dylan. Yeah, guess we both are. We didn't say anything after that, but at least I knew I wasn't the only one thinking about it.
I was sitting on the couch watching a movie with my mom and dad, when suddenly the door slammed shut, and we all turned our heads to see what happened. Yep, that's my big sister Taylor making an entrance. She slumped down on the couch and banged her feet on the coffee table. Then, as she scrolled through her phone, she looked up at us and huffed out, why are you all gawping at me like I'm an animal in a zoo? Am I not welcome here?" Flustered, my mom immediately replied, "No, sweetie, we're all delighted to have you home." Then she turned to me. "Anne, darling, go and get your sister a drink." I jumped up to my feet and did as Mom asked. I know what you're thinking. Why is everyone letting Taylor get away with her Little Miss Rude routine? You see, after a huge argument with Mom, she left home at 18 and didn't come back for 7 whole years. Mom seemed so pleased to have her back, so I decided to ignore Taylor's attitude and just go along with it. That afternoon, Mom asked me to go to the grocery store with her so we could buy Taylor her favorite foods, as well as a welcome back gesture. Then we spent ages preparing this delicious meal. I excitedly rushed up to Taylor's room and knocked on the door. "Taylor, dinner's ready!" She shouted back. "Go away!" "But it's hamburgers, and we got a special dessert," I replied. "Poof! I hate hamburgers, and there's no way I'm eating some sugar-laden dessert." I went downstairs and told Mom that she wasn't coming. Mom shrugged and tried to act like it was no big deal, but I could see the sadness in her eyes. Dad tried reassuring her by saying, "She probably just needs time to settle in." "Yeah, she's probably just tired," I added. Mom forced out a smile and thanked us both. Then she prepared a plate of food and asked me to bring it to Taylor. I knocked on her door and told her the food was outside. She shouted back at me, "Take it away! I don't want it!" I left it outside of her room, but later on when Mom went up to bed, she saw the untouched plate of food still there. She picked it up and she took it downstairs and made out like it was no big deal. She wasn't fooling me. I could tell that she was biting on her gum to stop the tears. When I was little, I idolized my feisty, beautiful older sister. I loved how she wore clashing colors, the cool ways in which she styled her hair, and her carefree nature. The problem was that she didn't seem to like me. All she ever did was call me a brat, slam her bedroom door in my face, and tell me to stay away from her. 7 years on, and I thought things would be different. She wasn't a teenager anymore. She was an adult. But nope, it seemed clear that Taylor hated me even more than ever. I don't know why. Didn't she view me as a proper sister because we had different dads? You see, my dad isn't her dad, as her dad left when she was a little girl. Then Mom met my dad and had me. I don't know. I just couldn't figure out why she still disliked me so much. As the weeks went on, Taylor didn't seem to settle in at all. Instead, her behavior worsened. She played loud music until the early hours of the morning. She covered the house in her clothes, plates, cups, etc. She was the messiest person ever and never cleaned up after herself. One time, I came downstairs to see her sitting at the dinner table, munching on the sandwiches I'd made for school. Then, when I politely told her this, she snorted and said, "They're gross anyway, so I'm doing you a favor." Then she took Mom's car without asking her, and that meant she had to get the bus to work and ended up late. When Mom talked to her about it, Taylor just smirked, threw the keys at her, said, "You're out of gas," then walked off. Mom tried to keep calm and distracted herself by tidying up. So I tried hugging her, but she shrugged me off and told me to go away. It felt like Taylor could get away with everything, while I was the one getting snapped at for nothing. Still, Taylor must have been through a lot, right? Maybe she just needed some time to reconnect with Mom again. Then peace would be restored to our household. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. I was reading in the living room when I heard voices coming from outside. I went to check it out and saw Mom and Dad talking to our new neighbor. They sure looked friendly. Then Taylor appeared and grinning said, "Making friends with the neighbor, are you, Mom?" Mom flustered out, "Taylor, this is Bill, my old classmate and our new neighbor. Isn't it a small world?" "So, you're Mom's age? Whoa, you don't look like it." "Hang on, didn't you say you had a crush on some Bill?" "I see why. It's just a shame you rushed into remarrying, isn't it?" Mom and Bill gave awkward looks, while Dad was gritting his teeth. Uh-oh, he didn't look happy. "Lovely to see you, Bill," Mom muttered out before she pulled Dad and Taylor inside. Behind closed doors, she frowned at Taylor, but she just shrugged and left. This must have been playing on Dad's mind, as that evening I overheard him question Mom. "Why did you never mention this Bill before?" "Honey, it was just a slight crush when I was a teenager. You know how it is." "Yeah, sure." Dad scratched his head. Now I was stuck in the middle of all this tension, and it was all down to Taylor stirring the pot again. Then a couple of days later, Dad came home from work and immediately started freaking out. "The bank called. Apparently I spent an obscene amount of money in a watch store. Was it you?" Mom shook her head. I didn't know anything either. Then Taylor piped in. "Speaking of buying stuff, we do need to get something for Bill's birthday. I mean, he did invite all of us, so it'd be rude not to." Uh-oh. I know Mom hadn't got round to telling Dad that Bill had invited the whole family to his party yet. Dad gave Mom a skeptical look and snarled, "Oh, I see. You used my money to buy your high school sweetheart an expensive watch? Listen to yourself! You're being ridiculous! I'm not going to stand around and listen to you accuse me like this." Then Mom stormed off. I really wanted to tell them how this morning I'd seen Taylor lingering in their room, looking suspicious. But how could I bring this up when the atmosphere was so intense? I decided I needed to confront the source of the problem, Taylor. When it was just the two of us, I said to her, "I know it was you. I saw you snooping around Mom's stuff." She just shrugged and replied, "Little Anne, seems you're smarter than you look." "Yeah, I did it. So what?" "Why are you being so cruel? Mom and Dad might split up because of you." To my shock, she grinned and she said, "Well, that is my plan. Why should you get to play happy families when I'm stuck here without my dad?" What? How could she be so selfish? I couldn't hold back my frustration anymore. How can you do this to Mom? I won't let you get away with this. Is that so? And what exactly is a quiet mouse like you gonna do about it? Then she shoved past me and walked off. I know I needed to tell Mom, but this meant breaking her heart. I was going to do it. I just needed to find a gentle way of telling her that her beloved daughter got a buzz out of ruining her life. But then, before I had a chance to figure this out, something terrible happened. The next day, I arrived home from school to find Mom and Dad in the kitchen. Dad had his arms folded and a stern look on his face, and Mom was in tears as she sadly peered down at some papers on the table in front of her. Divorce forms. What happened? Anne, you have to believe me. I didn't cheat on your father. Then Dad interrupted her. Stop lying. I can see it with my own eyes. Then he slammed a stack of photos onto the table. In the photos, Mom was kissing Bill in a cafe. Huh? This didn't make any sense. I don't understand. I didn't meet Bill yesterday. I met my friend Sandra. But Dad just got even more furious. Then he pulled his suitcase towards the door. Stop lying. I can see what happened clear as day. I can't trust you anymore. Then he left. Mom cried harder after that. I didn't know what to say or react. I wanted to believe Mom, but those photos told me differently. Suddenly, the door opened and Taylor strolled in, looked at Mom crying her heart out, and gave a delighted smirk, then went upstairs. That's right, Taylor! She must have something to do with this. So I kept an eye on her. As I passed her room, I heard her on the phone. And without a second thought, I went to find Mom and dragged her upstairs. Anyway, I owe you this time, dude. Yeah, those photos did the job. Yeah, thanks. Your Photoshop skills are brilliant. They look so real. My mom froze. A second later, she pushed the door open. Then Mom looked at Taylor and mouthed the word, "Why?" Taylor burst out laughing, shrugged, then replied, "It's payback for loving her." She pointed at me. "More than you love me. I want you all to suffer for living happily together. Why does she have you both, while I have nothing?" Furious, Mom slapped Taylor across the face and shouted out, "I'm ashamed of you, and I want you to leave right now." Taylor clutched her face and snarled back, "With pleasure. I hate it here anyway." Then she stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. I hugged Mom, and we both started crying. My happy family had been destroyed, and all because my sister was jealous and thought Mom loved me more. It was all so crazy. Then, later that evening, Mom received a call from the hospital. Mom's face dropped when she told me that Taylor had been in a car crash. We rushed to the hospital, and the doctor told us Taylor needed emergency surgery. But as she'd lost lots of blood, she needed a blood donation. The problem is that she had a rare blood type, but luckily, Mom had the same. So without any hesitation, Mom told the doctor to take as much blood as Taylor needed just to save her. After the blood donation, Mom didn't recover as fast as expected. Instead, she turned weak and needed medical care. So now, Taylor was in the surgery room, and Mom was in the intensive care unit. This was terrifying. What if I lost them both? I called Dad and spilled out everything that had happened to him, and he immediately rushed to the hospital. The wait was agonizing, but when the doctor came and told me they were both going to be okay, and I could go and see Taylor, I cried with happiness. Seeing her lying there bruised and afraid, I saw a vulnerable side to her that I hadn't seen before. So I took her hand and told her what Mom did for her. She looked embarrassed and turned away from me and muttered out how sorry she was for everything. After that, I visited them both every day. Dad came to the hospital too to check they were okay, but he waited outside of Mom's room as he knew she was still mad at him. Finally, Mom came home. Then a week later, Taylor was also discharged. We went to pick her up, and even though Mom and her didn't talk, I could feel the warmth between them. That night, we were having a cozy dinner. Taylor coughed to clear her voice, then said, "Guys, I want to say something. I know I've been a total brat, and I'm sorry. Mom, I thought you didn't love me because I was a reminder of your previous life, and I was ruining your new, happy family vibes. But now I realize how sacred the mother-daughter bond is. You never left me out. I left myself out. And Anne, I'm sorry I haven't been the big sis I should have been for you. I was jealous of you, but I was wrong to be that way. I hope you can both forgive me. Dad also apologized to Mum for misunderstanding her. We were all blubbering, and then we all hugged each other. We didn't need to say anything. Our actions were enough. We were family, and we loved each other. Families aren't always straightforward, but family is family, through the good times and the bad. And they're always worth fighting for, regardless of how out of this world annoying they can be at times. Trust me, I know all about it.
Scott, I said it's over. You're just too immature for me. He gave me a quizzing look, then said, Huh? What? Babe, we're great together. I rolled my eyes. I just figured I don't need to be with someone with such a childish mentality. I need someone mature and, Whatever, Linda. Find me when you change your mind, he grunted. Then he put his earphones in and walked off. Well, at 15, I needed a guy with a certain maturity, not some loser who still found fart jokes funny. Please. My friends, Patty and Louise, agreed with me. I'm far too popular, pretty, and confident to date just anyone. Anyway, as luck should happen, I was walking along the school corridor when I saw this lost-looking but amazingly handsome guy. Flicking out my hair, I approached him with my friendliest voice. Hey, are you okay? Flustered, he replied, Yes, which way is it to the principal's office? I'm going that way anyway, so I'll show you. This was a blatant lie, as my class was in the other direction, but he didn't know that. Later that day, I walked into physics class with Lewis and stopped dead. Standing at the front of the class was that handsome guy. It turns out he was the substitute teacher, and written on the board behind him was the name Mr. Hulton. My first name is Colin, by the way, he smiled. I whispered to Lewis, Seems like science class has heated up. Then I walked over to my seat. There's no way I could concentrate on the density of materials, not with the hottest teacher ever sharing the same airspace as me. I needed to find a way to get to know him and show him that I wasn't like the other girls my age. Instead, I was far more mature and self-assured than them. So, at the end of class, I walked over and asked him if he'd go over a few things with me. He gladly agreed, so I got to sit down next to him and daydreamed in the scent of his musky cologne. Physics class became my favorite. With my head in my hands, I watched him address the class. He saw me looking at him a few times, but he always quickly looked away. It's okay. I got it. He was just trying to look professional. Then, one time he asked the question, According to Einstein, is light a partial or a wave? I stuck my hand in the air and grinned. He looked a little flustered. Linda? I puckered my lips and looked straight at him. That shirt color really suits you, sir. It brings out your eyes. Some of the other kids in class laughed, and he awkwardly fiddled with his collar. So cute! Then he coughed and said, Linda, do you know the answer? Oh, what was the question again? I stared dreamily at him. Honestly, I couldn't remember anything afterwards but his charmingly severe look. Then one afternoon, Colin asked me to stay behind after class. Result, he must have fallen for this Linda's irresistible charms. Didn't he? I shyly stood before him, and in a serious tone he said, Linda, is everything okay with you? You seem off lately. No, sorry, it's awful. I glumly looked down at my feet and took a few seconds to continue. My family is so poor, and my home life is just horrible. I only have nice things because my friends lend me stuff. His gaze softened. I pretended to dab at my fake tears. Please, don't tell anyone. I couldn't cope with the shame. It's enough just having you to talk to. I smiled at him. Yeah, sure. He looked at me gently and said, Anytime. Oh my. His eyes were so big and blue and, I could drown in them. He obviously liked me too. He just couldn't do anything about it yet, as he was nervous. with him being my teacher and all. But soon he'd realize that me and him were so meant to be, like Ariana Grande and Dalton Gomez. I continued to stay behind after classes so I could talk to Colin about my make-believe terrible home life. He always listened and told me it'd be okay. He was so sweet and sensitive. Then one time, I left Colin's classroom to find Scott there, waiting for me. Ugh. I told him to go away and started walking, but he followed me. So what? You're into old men now? What? I glared at him. Yeah, I'm not stupid. I know you like Mr. Halton. You need to snap out of that dreamland and see he's on a different level to you. Angered by this, I looked him square in the eye and snidely replied, No, Scott, you're the one on a different level to me. About 50 levels down, to be precise. I gave the thumbs down sign. He looked wounded as he turned his back to me and started walking off. He had it coming. I walked outside to see Scott lingering around, talking to Patty and Lewis. They didn't see me, so I overheard Scott say, She can't see how tragic she's being. You know her. She's so stubborn. Of course, Mr. Halton doesn't like her in that way. Ahem. I faked a cough, and they all turned to look at me. I put my hand on my hip and stared them down. Look, I'm sorry, Linda. We're just worried about you. Yeah, this fantasy of yours will hurt you. Ugh, what did they know? I rolled my eyes. For your information, Colin and I are really dating. In fact, he's taking me out tonight, so I can't hang out. I walked off the other way, knowing full well that the looks on their face would be priceless. I know Colin wasn't actually my boyfriend, yet, but I knew it would happen soon. It was written in the stars. The next day, as I walked into school, I noticed some of the other kids whispering to each other and pointing at me. Okay, weird. Maybe it was my new dress or something. I bought it because it was an exact colored match to Colin's eyes. But things got weirder in physics class, because as soon as Colin walked in, everybody started giggling. Colin looked confused and said, Okay, what's so funny? Then this girl, Sally, shyly muttered out, Sir, we heard you have a new girlfriend. He raised an eyebrow. Yes, that's correct. How do you know? He gave a nervous laugh. Actually, this shirt is a gift from her. I felt the entire class's eyes turn to me. Well, except for Colin's. I tried to keep my cool, but inside I was fuming. How dare some other woman steal my man and force him to wear that hideous shirt? I knew I needed to keep up the lie, so after class I walked over to Lewis and Patty and said, How cute does Colin look in that shirt? They both frowned at me. Then Patty replied, So, you really are dating him? Yep, I gave a nod. Right. She gave a skeptical look. They all needed to realize that Colin and I were the real deal. So I bought a box of candy and cut out a heart-shaped tag saying, Love you, honey, with my candy floss scented gel pen. I did feel kinda nervous as I walked over to him, but our love was meant to be. Hi, Linda. Can I help you? I got you this. I placed the gift down on his desk. He read the note and his face fell. Then, in a firm voice, he said, Look, Linda, this is wrong. No, I shook my head. I know you like me. Linda, please, you're my student. You're just a child. No, we're meant to be together. You love me. I know you do. I don't, he said sternly. Now please leave. He rejected me? This had to be down to his new girlfriend. She was obviously poisoning his mind, as there was no way he couldn't like me. I wasn't leaving the room until he admitted he loved me too. So, crying, I sat down on the floor and folded my arms. Right at that moment, Patty and Louise rushed into the room and helped me up. Then they stared daggers at Colin as they led me out into the corridor. Turned out they'd followed me and observed through the window. How embarrassing. Thinking quick, I blubbered out, He's such a jerk. I devoted all of myself to him, but he's bored of me now, so he dumped me. Just like that. My friends comforted me as they told me he wouldn't get away with it. There's no way I could face Colin again just yet. So, I feigned being sick and stayed home. Only when I returned to school, he wasn't there. Then, the principal called me to their office. I walked in to see both my parents sitting there with devastated looks on their faces. Oh no. What was going on? Sweetie, we're sorry for not protecting you more. Mom looked over at me with glassy eyes. Then the principal said, Mr. Halton has been fired, and the police are investigating him. Rest assured, nothing like this will happen again. Huh? Colin had been fired? Why? Then the reality hit me. It was because they thought he'd been having a relationship with me. I muttered out, "No, you've got it all wrong. Nothing happened." "Linda, I know this is difficult, but he's a bad man." It didn't matter what I said. They remained convinced that I was so manipulated by Colin that I'd say anything to clear his name. Straight after the meeting, I found Patty and Louise, and they confessed that they hated seeing me so upset, so they'd told the principal about me and Colin. I took a deep breath, then I blurted out, "But I made it up! All of it!" Of course, they were super angry with me for lying, but after bearing their tantrums for some 30 minutes, they agreed to help me clear his name. So they went to the cop station with me, and we told them everything. It worked, as Colin had his name cleared, but unsurprisingly, he never came back to teach at my school. The three of us were suspended from school, and my parents grounded me for a month. Patty and Louise are still my friends, but I can see they don't trust me anymore. Anytime I tell them anything, they give each other these, "yeah, right" looks. I feel so guilty for everything I did. It was never meant to go that far, but I now realize that my childish behavior almost cost a good man his future. I wish I could apologize to Colin in person, but I know I'll never get a chance to. Please be careful with your words, as they could ruin someone's career, life, everything. If, like me, you adore your teacher, then please just respect them, be nice, and let them be.
I was sitting in the reception with an ice pack pressed to my head, waiting for my mom to come pick me up. Ugh, that stupid rogue ball during PE! Oh, there she was, glamorous as always. She rushed over and hugged me, checking if I was okay. Then she guided me out of there and along the hallway. A group of teenage boys stopped dead and stared open-mouthed as we walked by. One even wolf whistled. Even my math teacher, who was walking out of his classroom, started readjusting his tie and waved over at us. No, those reactions weren't for me. They were for my mom. She's just too beautiful to ever be fazed by how men act around her. On the way back home, I got a message from my bestie, Minnie. "I bet men would all compete to win a date with your mom. She was like a goddess earlier." I giggled to myself. The thought of a bunch of adult men competing to win my mom's affection amused me. I couldn't understand why my mom was still single. She's gorgeous, successful, and a really kind person. And I guessed she'd enjoy having a man about the place, right? Okay, so Minnie wasn't being serious, but the more I pondered on it, the better the idea became. So I messaged her back. "Tell me more about that contest idea of yours." Then one time, when my mom was away on a business trip, I invited Minnie around. We spent all evening posting about the auditions online and handing flyers out around town. Soon, the applications came flooding in. Oh boy, some were handsome, but some, yeah, they were so not. Delete, definitely. We got everything ready to spend hours sifting through all the applicants. Gotta be strict, 'cause the chosen one had to be perfect like Prince Paris to match with a woman like my mom, whose name is actually Helen. Finally, we whittled them down to a top 10 list, and we invited them along to round 1. Fitness is important, right? Well, at least that's what Minnie says. So we set up an assault course at the local park. All the guys showed up, including Mr. Swanson, my gym teacher. Uh-oh, awkward. But hey, I suppose he was good-looking and a physically strong man. Firstly, they had to run a complete lap of the field, as stamina was important. Then they had to lift 120 pounds of weights, equal to my mom's weight. She sure needed a man who could lift her over their shoulder like they do in the movies. OMG. Watching them warming up was hilarious. One man showed up in this Lycra one-piece and started doing jumping jacks, and another guy was doing some weird karate moves. All of them completed the running section. Well, just about. But some of them struggled to lift the weights, including Mr. Swanson, who had turned bright red and was groaning. Minnie and I covered our mouths to hold back our laughs. Farewell, Mr. Swanson. That was for being mean to us in gym class. Finishing round 1, we eliminated 3 men. Too bad, as they were handsome. On to round 2. It's not all about brawn. Brains are important too. That was why Minnie and I spent 2 days noting down all the questions for our Who Wants to Be My Mom's Boyfriend quiz round. My mom deserves a man who knows everything. We set out a row of kid-sized chairs in the backyard. Then we walked along the line and fired questions at them. Suddenly, one man stood up and furiously said to the others, "Why are we letting some kids test us like this?" Then stormed off. Minnie whispered, "Not surprising, really." I saw him scratching his head at the other questions. We then eliminated those with the lowest score, leaving just 5 potentials to go through to round 3. That night, I was about to grab something to eat, and I saw my mom standing in the kitchen. She was back earlier than I thought. She was looking down at the pile of profiles on the table with in and out stamps on them. Confused, she asked me, "Zara, what is the meaning of this?" "Mom, we think you've been lonely for a long time, so Minnie and I are doing a contest to find you a man." I gave my best puppy-eyed look. "Actually, tomorrow is round 3. It'd be perfect if you could join us for the interview. Please?" Mom glared at me and shook her head. But I kept insisting until she sighed and said, "Fine, I'll come." I howled with joy and hugged her. Bring on round 3, the interview stage. Minnie and I asked the questions while Mom, Queen Helen, watched from her throne. The first one, Tyler, waved over at Mom and said, "Helen, do you recognize me?" My mom just smiled politely. Turned out, Tyler had a big crush on my mom since they were both in high school. Then when Minnie asked him to show us his talent, he ignored her and said to Mom, "Oh, Helen, I've never stopped loving you. You remember back then when we—" I shouted out, interrupting him. "Not impressive enough. Next!" The second one stepped in. Simon. Ooh, he was wearing a suit and seemed like a gentleman. "Maybe you don't recognize me," Simon spoke up. My mom's smile disappeared. "I'm Simon, the head of the engineering department in our company." Simon must have had a crush on my mom for a long time, but she sure didn't even know he existed. His talent performance was to help fix 2 faulty computers in my house. Useful, but honestly, it wasn't rocking enough. Plus, him being my mom's colleague was awkward. Duh! As soon as the third one, James, walked in, Mom sat up with a surprise. "Helen, I miss you so much," he sincerely said. Mom immediately motioned me to eliminate him, then got up and went inside. It was revealed that James was her ex-boyfriend from their college days. Okay, creep. Oh well, 2 guys left. The next one was so dreamy. He looked like he belonged in a boy band. Minnie and I clasped hands excitedly. "Hi, I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you, ladies." Daniel's smile totally melted Minnie and I. "I don't know if you ladies know, but I live on this street." Seriously? How did I not know a handsome neighbor like this? He then took out his guitar and played a song. OMG, this guy deserves straight A's. But he was only 21 years old. That was way younger than my mom. And he was the last one of all. Very handsome and sweet. For his talent, he'd make us cupcakes. "These lovely little ones are specially made for you, lovely ladies." He smiled. Oh, how charming. In the end, Minnie and I sat together and discussed our options. Well, the result was quite obvious. I excitedly announced, "We've made our decision. My new daddy, the chosen Prince Paris to my mom Helen, the champion is Andy." He looked chuffed and grinned over at my mom. Still, my mom maintained that polite smile and remained silent. Yay! This was great! I finally had a father. Moreover, this one makes awesome food. I couldn't wait for their first date. Eek! Now let me tell you, the date went amazingly. Andy took my mom and I to this fancy restaurant in town. He pulled the chairs out for us, ordered food he thought we'd like. Then he started serving us the coolest stories ever. He really is a gentleman. If I had a boyfriend, I would want one like him. After we finished, I crossed the street to buy ice cream and caught them hugging. Perfect! Looked like things went well. Oh, Andy, I could already imagine the life where he was family. That night, Mom sat down next to me while I was texting and watching TV. Zara, I'm glad to see you had fun these past few days. I hummed, still texting. But did it ever cross your mind that what you did was for you and not for me? Excuse me? I worked hard to make her happy, and she could say that to me? I took my eyes off the phone and stared at her. Sweetie, you only picked the man you liked the best. It's your choice, not mine. I appreciate what you did, but relationships are not that simple. I tearfully raised my phone and shook it, saying that I already invited Andy over at the weekend to teach me how to cook. Mom smiled. No problem. Andy and I already talked and decided to stay friends. So this weekend's plan remains the same. I lowered my head and apologized to her. Mom was right. I'd picked my favorite without considering her feelings. But yeah, it wasn't all bad, as after that, Andy kept coming over most weekends. Took me to go buy groceries with him, and then cooked for us. He taught me how to cook and bake, and we even chatted about the goofy boys at my school. Seriously, if that Richard wants a chance with a pretty girl like ours, Zara, then he should be stronger, Andy said, while his hands were still cooking gracefully. Yeah, Richard. Burn! Speaking of being burnt, ouch! Yes, it was me who had just burnt myself in the oven thinking about all this. Andy rushed over, guided my hand over to the faucet, and ran it under cold water. Oh, geez. He was so caring and thoughtful. Unlike those childish guys my age. Soon it was my sweet 16th. And of course, Andy was the chef for dinner. Mom and Minnie just had to light up the birthday candles. Then, as I watched Andy through the candlelight, I knew I couldn't lie to myself anymore. I was in love with him. I spent days planning for the best confession to him. Only, before I could tell him how I felt, Mom told me, Andy just called me and said he'd been offered the head chef job in New York. He's leaving next week. What? No! Why? It was Andy, the first love of my life. That was so unfair. We didn't get any chance to see him until the day he boarded. Mom and I went to the airport to see him off. I couldn't bear watching him go, so I glued my eyes on the floor while he was still excitedly chatting with my mom. Zara, use what I taught you to take good care of your mother, okay? Andy winked and patted my head. I couldn't help myself any longer. I burst into tears, hugged him, and sobbed out, Andy, I love you. Please don't go. Don't leave me. I can't live without you. For a moment, the whole airport, including my mom, was stunned. All eyes were on me. Andy immediately pushed me away, clearing his throat, and said, Zara, you're a lovely, pretty, sweet girl. You will find a suitable boyfriend. Then he turned to Mom. Best wishes to you both. Bye, Helen. Bye, Zara. And I watched him walk away with tears streaming down on my face. Well, it's been 6 months since then, and I eventually realized that my feelings for Andy were just a teenage confusion. I did love him, yes, but it was more like admiring and respecting him as a father figure. Anyway, I do have a new dad now, but it was my beloved Mom's choice. His name is Harris, and he might not be as good a cook as Andy, but he's a nice guy, and he makes her happy. And of course, we still keep in touch with Andy. Both his career and his love life are doing really well in the Big Apple. I've learned my lesson. Life's full of choices, some good and some not so good. But sometimes, however much we want to, we can't make choices for other people. Instead, we just have to take a deep breath and let them make their own. High school has started, and it's going pretty well. I'm currently seeing this very cute guy in math class. Guys my age are not that bad, to be honest. Minnie's not so bad on herself either, as she's now dating that musician Daniel and enjoys touring around with him whenever he plays at concerts. What a happily fulfilled ending for everyone. Is it? Job hunting is so not fun. But my current job as a waitress isn't working out. There's too much standing around. I now have a blister on my foot. Totally disgusting. Ooh, hang on. This one sounded interesting. Retired couple seeks a well-mannered female housekeeper to attend to their country estate. Board and meals included. This job sounded like such an easy ride, so I called them immediately. And yep, they invited me over. So, this is their country estate. Jeez, it's basically a castle. The owner, Mrs. Harris, answered the door. She seemed friendly enough, and she gave me a tour of the place. I expected her to interview me or something, but in the end, she just showed me a bedroom, then said, "I hope this room is adequate enough for you. You'll start tomorrow. My husband and I are away from home quite often. All you have to do is keep an eye on the place and play with our son, as he does get lonely." Huh? I didn't see anything about babysitting in the job description. But I mean, come on, how bad could playing with some little kid be? And who cares? This was the perfect job. They were paying me a high salary to do practically nothing, not even cleaning or cooking, as they had many maids for that. This was over the top. Some people had way more money than sense. I needed to hurry up and move in. For the first few days, the Harrises weren't around, and I didn't see any signs of a kid. I mooched around the mansion and explored the grounds. Then one day I was on the 3rd floor inspecting a funny-looking portrait when I heard footsteps behind me. Startled, I turned around and saw a guy holding a teddy bear and licking a lollipop. He was looking straight at me. Okay, weird. Hello? And you are? I asked. Fred, he said, with a very childish tone. Huh? He was like almost 30 already. How come he spoke like that? Fred wants to play. He raised the teddy bear up to my face, like an invitation. All right, I shrugged, then followed him into his room. Whoa, it was like a toy store in there. He wheeled a toy truck over to me, so I took it and made car sounds as I moved it around. He clapped his hands and cheered excitedly. I ended up spending the rest of the day there playing these childish games with him. Then when I looked up, I saw Mr. and Mrs. Harris standing in the doorway, and beside them was a cameraman who was filming Fred and me. They asked to talk privately, so I followed them out to the garden. Mr. Harris started. Fred is our only son. Past traumas affected him, so now, although he appears to be an adult man, he still acts like a kid. Now that made sense. And too bad for him, though. The story continued that Mr. and Mrs. Harris used to work in the media. A few years ago, they decided to record Fred's daily activities, then edited them into videos to make a weekly series on social media. Wow, a show about a man acting like a child? How strange. The audience loves watching Freddie. Mrs. Harris giggled, but then she immediately changed her tone. But I do worry they'll soon get tired of watching just him. I think he should have a friend. It will help the show, and it'll be good for Freddie as he'll feel less lonely. I wonder. She looked at me all wide-eyed. Noticing my skeptical look, Mr. Harris jumped in before I even opened my mouth. We'll pay you double. Whoa, what a deal! I mean, it's not like I needed to be an award-winning actress or anything to be in this type of videos. Most importantly, that amount of money was insane. Only an idiot would have turned down an offer like this, right? So I started being friends with Fred. We shared toys, played in the garden, and did all those childlike things together. To be honest, I found him really sweet, and I felt sorry for him. Whenever he saw me, he beamed at me, and usually handed me his favorite toy, and that made me feel good. So, okay, the cameraman followed us around all day, but I soon forgot he was there. And I also never check out the final videos, as I found it cringy to watch myself. Then one day, the Harrises sat me down to talk to me again. Mrs. Harris looked at me as she said, "You may consider Freddie as a child, but he is now a 27-year-old man, handsome and physically healthy. He likes you, and he has every right to date." Then after showing me several comments on the internet, they told me frankly that the views would be higher if I became Fred's girlfriend. So, is it some kind of real-life fairy tale? A kind-hearted girl falls in love with a mentally disadvantaged man? Jeez. But I'm not into him that way. I groaned, pulling a wry face. Darling. She touched my arm. It would only be for the camera, and it would make Freddie so happy. And of course, you'll be generously compensated, Mr. Harris added. Oof, that much money? Who could say no? And it was only acting. Besides, Fred enjoyed making the videos, right? They must have had millions of views for the Harrises to throw money around like this. So I quit hesitating and agreed. They handed me an improv script and told me to do exactly whatever was written in it. The more convincing my performance, the higher my salary. Oh man, not long ago, I didn't have a cent to my name, and now I had thousands of dollars in my bank account. I could go to college, get myself an apartment, etc. A bright future was ahead for me. In the first video, I sat down next to Fred, took his hand, but he immediately started a thumb war. So I gave up on the hand-holding and softly said, Fred, I love spending time with you. You're so sweet and kind, and I have feelings for you. He let out an excitable shout. Then he pretended to be an airplane and did loops around the room. The next few videos didn't get any easier. When I tried to snuggle up to him, he'd whack me with his giant teddy bear. And when I went in for a kiss on his cheek, he pressed a toy car into my face. That was why when I read the next script, in which we were going to have a romantic dinner together, I couldn't help sighing and rolling my eyes. But it was work, so I put on a pretty dress and walked into the dining room. It was decorated with flower petals on the table, and there was mood lighting. Delicious? I asked while he was stuffing his face. He nodded, threw down the silverware, and clapped his hands. Fred cooks for Lynn eats. Fred chewed as he spoke, spitting food all over. Man, this was so hilarious, I couldn't help laughing. Then he walked over to me and hugged me tightly. Oh my God, he got food stains all over my dress. I looked straight into his eyes and thought, yeah, I did like him as a cute little brother. Poor guy. If only he wasn't so unfortunate. Suddenly, I felt his hands tightening around my waist. Stunned, I pushed him back and feigned interest in my food. A huge amount of money was transferred into my account that month, but I didn't feel so youthful anymore. So I started going off script and doing things that I thought were good for Fred. I used his toys to teach him math skills. I read him good books, and I showed him how to make cupcakes. One evening, when I was walking back to my room, Mr. Harris blocked my path and, scowling at me, said, What the hell are you playing at? Did you even read this week's script? I tried pushing past him, but he grabbed my arm. You're causing our viewers to leave. I'm paying you less this month. I shook myself free of his grip and replied, Money? Is that all that matters to you? Then I rolled my eyes and returned to my room. That night, I ended up looking up the videos. In one of the older ones, Fred was in a suit and looked super uncomfortable. Every time he tried to loosen the tie or unbutton the shirt, a stick went in the frame and hit him in the butt. After a few tries, Fred threw himself on the floor and started having a tantrum. There were so many comments like, OMG, this is way too hilarious, and grow up, man, or don't, for our entertainment. Oh no, people were so mean. Fred didn't choose to be like that. The Harrises were using their own son to get rich by making fun of him. Poor Fred. I had to stop this. I packed my bag, stormed into the room where the Harrises were watching TV and said, I like Fred and still want to be his friend, but I'm not going to be part of this freak show anymore. I quit. And if you care about Fred at all, I suggest you do the same. I expected them to beg me to stay or something, but Mrs. Harris just snarked. All right then. If you want to quit, just leave. Why bother making a fuss about all this? Girls like you won't be hard to replace anyway. How ruthless were they? I was fueled with anger. So I left their dumb mansion immediately and didn't look back. And guess who is cooking in my kitchen while I'm telling you this crazy story? Yep, it's Fred. A few weeks after I left, I answered the doorbell to find Fred standing there. Crazier still, he was acting completely normal. Turns out the Harrises were neglectful of Fred, so he was raised by an old butler, like Bruce and Alfred. When Fred was 15, his parents ended up jobless and in debt. Fred told me,
I wanted their attention so badly, so I started acting like I was still a little kid.
But then his cute, silly actions meant his parents came up with their crazy video idea. They lied about Fred's age since he does look a bit older, then made him solo act Dumb and Dumber on camera for years.
At first, I thought this would be a good way to help my parents overcome their financial difficulties. But I soon grew tired of pretending, and they had more than enough money. So I told them to stop, but they refused.
Then he told me that the night I left, he got into a heated argument with his parents and told them he wasn't doing the show ever again.
I don't know anyone else, and have feelings for no one else. But you,
he confessed. And whoa, turns out he's only 19. So I let him stay with me and, well, we started dating. Like real romantic dates and a real romantic grown-up relationship. I still have a lot of money in my account, and Fred took all the money he deserved from his parents, then moved in with me. I'm starting college next month, and I can't wait. Meanwhile, Fred has found an online course and is waiting for the results from the new part-time job. Also online. Well, he's gotta hide for quite a while, since his face is all over the internet. But our future together is really wide open this time. Now, excuse me, we have a dinner date to enjoy. This is a real-life fairy tale, baby.